Please welcome Bryan Cranston. Hello. How you doing, George?
See you, man. Good to see you, man. How are you? Good.
Terrific. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Things are going really well for you.
They are.
If you would have gone back to like 92, could you have imagined this is what it would have looked like? A year like this?
92, I was still an old guy. Yeah. So I can't imagine going back to 92. I started working in this business in 1979. So I've been doing it for 32 years about. You know, so.
And you got steady work, you had lots of gigs.
Yeah.
But the last 10 years have been just crazy.
You know, I think there is a truth in the saying that you have to know when it's your time. And sometimes, you know, people go through their awkward moments in high school and they feel gangly and they're not, you know, they're not sure of themselves and things. This seems to be my time. It waited a while, but I'm glad it's here.
No, Drive is a fantastic movie, and it's a throwback. At least that's what it felt like to me. Did you know it was going to feel that way?
No, you know what's interesting about Drive is that it was a relatively conventional script and shot conventionally, as a film would. Nicholas Refn, our director, really found the tone, the sensibility, I think, in the editing process. And as they say, there are 3 films that are done. One that's written, one that's shot, and one that's edited. Mm-hmm. And this one really came alive. It surprised me when I first saw the screening of it. It's terrific. It's paced in a very interesting sort of film noir European style. Yeah. And it really sucks you in with the characters. And then, hold on, because it takes you for a ride.
Well, when the guns start going off,
yeah.
It's just like, wow, this is a completely different film, but
exactly.
It all works. It's like a European To Live and Die in LA almost. You know?
That's a good, yeah.
It just captures something there. You know, Breaking Bad has become such a big part of your life and become such a big part of television that, you know, stepping away and making a film, is it harder to make that adjustment?
No, you look forward to it. I love Breaking Bad. This is the role of my life.
And the role of almost any actor's life. Those don't come around very often.
They don't. They really don't. In fact, when I read the pilot episode of this, I thought, well, if this show gets lucky and can be successful, whoever gets to play this role of Walter White, it'll change their life.
Is the success coming later in life what maybe kept you a little bit together?
I think very much so, yeah. I think if you're raised, if you're poor growing up, there is no room for entitlement to develop. You have nothing. So you can only imagine. And then if you get success later in life, you're more mature, hopefully. I mean, that's the plan. In fact, someone told me that there's this Chinese proverb that says, may you reach fame and fortune early on in life. And it's not intended to be favorable. It's a curse.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because they don't feel that you can handle that. And the biggest curse would be if you had something and lost it, as opposed to never having it at all.
Well, your Breaking Bad character has a bit of that, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's got that, and there's this, it's also a character where you look at and say, we know that guy too. You know, minus the meth dealing and all that other stuff that comes later.
We started him out as a very sympathetic character, and we're doing something on this series that's never been done in the history of television, and that is to take a character from the beginning of the show and have him one type of person, and by the end of the series, he's completely changed. Our writer who created the show says fondly that he wants to take a character from Mr. Chips to Scarface, and we're on our way.
You must love that. What an opportunity.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. Say hello to my little friend.
When you're playing a guy who's afflicted with cancer, you know the people watching the show, a lot of your audience has cancer. Yeah. Like, that's just the nature of this world we live in right now. Yeah. How do you play a guy like that when you know that there are people who are really feeling it?
Well, the responsibility of an actor is to be truthful in how you portray that. So one of the simple things is I knew that when my character was going to go through chemotherapy and radiation is that he would lose his hair. So I shaved my head. Mm-hmm. I also knew that from personal experience in my family that the chemotherapy and primarily makes you lose your appetite and it all tastes like metal inside when you're going through that treatment. And so you lose weight. I lost 16 pounds in 10 days.
Hard to do that healthy.
Yeah, but I did it carefully. I cut off my right leg,
right.
And this is a prosthetic now.
No. You certainly got down then.
Yeah, that's it. 16 pounds, that was easy.
You're like, just put it in a bag, put it in the freezer.
Yeah. I'll attach it later. So, no, I measured the time between when I would have my shirt off, in a shower scene or something, before the weight loss, and then when I was going to have my shirt off again after the chemotherapy. And it was 16 days, or 10 days, so that I had to quickly drop that weight.
Did you go talk to people who were battling cancer when you were preparing for the role?
I didn't, not preparing for the role, because my character didn't know he was going to have it either. So, but I didn't have to. There's several people in my family. My grandfather died of lung cancer, and my sister-in-law has breast cancer, and my stepmother has myeloma, and I mean there are a lot of, it surrounds everybody. I don't know anybody, certainly my age, who has not been affected by that.
So in the midst of a happy life, there's sadness that's always around.
That's part of life. Yeah.
Are you good with that stuff?
You have to be, though. I mean, you have to just embrace it for what it is. I'll tell you what it does, though. It makes you appreciate a day like today. It's beautiful outside. And not to take any of those things for granted, to take a deep breath and go, this is a beautiful day. Enjoy it, say hello to some people, and try to have fun, mix it in.
Strong Buddhist principles riding through you?
Perhaps.
Perhaps a little bit. When you were shooting your commercials into the early 90s, right? You were doing a lot of commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Did you think at a certain point, okay, this is my life. This is what I'm going to be?
The only thing I hoped for when I determined that I was going to be a professional actor was that I just thought, what a joy that would be if I could make my living as an actor. And that was my threshold. If I could just make a living as an actor. And I've been doing that since I was 24 years old. And I was very fortunate to get that and to have that become a part of my life, a big part of my life.
What did you learn about yourself when you got fired from the soap opera? It was loving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a key thing. I think everyone should be fired at least once in their life. Talk about the fault lines, being able to understand them. I felt very sorry for myself. The interesting thing is that I had not intended to continue on with the show. I was going to leave the show after 2 years. Mm-hmm. And before I could break up with the show broke up with me. And just like a girlfriend, it's like the one you wanted to break up with, she breaks up with you early, and it's like, no, don't. We can make this work. Don't leave me. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I was gonna, what? But it's that feeling of loss. So I felt sorry for myself. That was on a Black Friday. They give you the news, and all day Saturday I'm walking around like a zombie, feeling sorry for myself. And then Sunday I said, to heck with that, do something creative, get up and get out. And I'm living in New York, and I grabbed my camera and a bunch of rolls of film. It tells you how long ago it was. And went into Central Park and started shooting pictures creatively. It was the New York City Marathon, and I didn't know it. And at first I thought, oh, all these people are in the way, now I can't shoot. And I saw two big, fat New York cops standing in front of a sign that had runners with an arrow. And I thought, well, that's kind of a funny sign. And so I took that picture, and then, oh, there's another. I took that picture. Pretty soon I'm seeing all the elite runners come in, and I'm taking pictures, and then I saw the sea of humanity run by. I'm at the finish line, 26.2 miles. And they're running in, people with one leg, people dressed up as waiters carrying trays, old people, people in wheelchair, crutches, kids. It was amazing to me.
It was almost as if it was staged just for you.
Just for me. Exactly right, George, because I needed something to lift me up. And I was guided to go there, and divinely perhaps, and I got it. And I heard myself say, look at these people, all different ethnicities and people of all sizes, shapes. And they're doing something I can't do. And I thought, I can't do this? Why can't I do this? I can do this. And I needed to say, I'm going to do, next year I'm going to be in this race.
Mm-hmm. But are you competitive? Is
and
that
I
why?
was in the race. I
You
did.
You finished.
I finished in the best time I ever did. I've done 4 marathons, and that was my best time by far.
It's attrition, a marathon, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness.
Would you characterize your father as a struggling actor?
Yeah.
What did your family think of your career when things really started to go?
Good, because my mother and father met in an acting class after World War II in Hollywood, and they were, you know, they're doing the classes and auditions and the whole thing. And my dad did several things. He did, you know, all the television shows and movies here and there. He was in a movie called The Beginning of the End. My dad was in a lot of movies that he would die in. He would either be an army guy or a cowboy or some, you know, a scuba diver, and, you know, a big tentacle would grab him, and, you know, So he was always dying in movies, and it was fun to watch him. Yo, Dad's dying, you know, we'd watch him.
Was it fun the first time you watched your father die? Or was that traumatic?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Yes. But clearly he's died several times.
Yes, he's died several times. But, you know, the first time was, you know, I saw an old movie and he was with me. We were watching it, and I think it was like, but you're, what? I didn't get that, how that works. Or so I've been around it for a long, long time. But and I remember the struggle. But from a kid's eyes, you adapt. I didn't know that there was anything wrong with 1 year getting a new car and then the next year getting rid of that new car and getting an older car. It's just what you did. 1 year we dug in and built a swimming pool, built-in beautiful swimming pool. The next year my mother said we can't afford the chemicals to swim in the pool this summer. And he was bringing home all kinds of weird things and meet strange people. We had a donkey in our backyard for a couple of years. We would ride a donkey.
How does one just have a donkey? Was that a good year or a bad year?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. It was a good year for the boys because we're like, hey, we get to ride a donkey. We named it Tom.
Nice. After?
I don't know. Tom Jones, maybe.
That's a good answer. Stick around. Anthropology with Bryan Cranston right after this.
Did you hear the one about the rabbi and the farmer's daughter? Huh? Those aren't matzo balls. What?
Tim, do you think you should be making jokes like that?
Why not? I'm Jewish, remember?
I know, but...
Jerry, it's our sense of humor that sustained us as a people for 3,000 years.
5,000.
5,000, even better.
Back here with Bryan Cranston. I've got a new film called Drive, which is really good with Ryan Gosling. Albert Brooks is also in that one. Mm-hmm. The man suspected of becoming Jewish just to tell Jewish jokes.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's all right. That's the way it's done.
So Whatley, obviously some would know you from that, but what's the most, I mean, Breaking Bad fine, Malcolm Middle fine, but has anybody ever walked up to you and said, hey, you're the Excedrin guy, or you're the Honda guy from commercials you've done?
There was someone who found some, and I didn't even. Some people know your background so well that you have forgotten what you've done.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they tell you, no, you were in that movie. That's right, I was. You forget.
Has Breaking Bad changed the way you feel about drugs?
It just made me aware how despicable crystal methamphetamine is, and what a scourge it is on society.
What has it taught you about morality?
The show?
Yeah.
What's interesting about Breaking Bad is it taught me that even the meekest person among us, given the right set of circumstances, could become dangerous.
You play a mechanic in Drive, you run a garage. What's the biggest job you've ever actually had to do on your own vehicle?
Well, when I was a boy, I had a 68 Oldsmobile Delta 88 that I worked on my own. And we would change the points, plugs, condensers, and oil filter. We had no money. No one else was going to do it. But that was
pre-YouTube. You couldn't YouTube how to fix
You can't do any of that. Yeah, you had to do it yourself.
How close were you to actually becoming a police officer?
Pretty close. I went to college for 2 years to study administration of justice. And then I took an elective course in acting and found out that the girls in theater classes were prettier than the ones in police science. And that steered me on a different course. Can you believe it?
Your entire life came down just to something primitive.
Exactly.
It's not your fault, man.
Exactly right.
It's just how you're wired to be that way. Have you ever made a citizen's arrest?
I have, actually. In college, I had a job where I would actually be one of those guys in the two-way mirrors in the grocery stores watching people shoplift.
How crazy a gig.
And then I'd have a microphone, and there would be, you have to wait until they'd steal things, and then you'd have to wait until they actually left the store, because they could say, well, I was just holding it, and then, so the manager was up front, and there was a front door and a back door. And the code was, Larry, the coffee's on in the back, or the coffee's on in the front. And he would turn to the front door, and whoever was leaving at that moment, he would go out and detain them. I would walk down to the ground level and go out and say, yeah, you stuck a steak down your pants. And they go, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I go, you're dripping.
Yeah. You better hope that's a steak, because there's blood all out of the bottom of your pants. Did you ever see somebody, and because you thought you took compassion on them, or you thought they were cute, did you ever say, I'm not going to call Larry this time?
You know, there was that temptation, but it wasn't my call. It was Larry. Larry, the coffee guy.
He made the call.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Great to see you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, George.
Right on.
Appreciate it.
Bryan Cranston, everybody.